We are live on the Virtual Grip Network, and once again, we hop in the DeLorean to travel back to 1966 for this season's YesterYear Tour Modifieds, where some of the best Tour Mod drivers are going to compete for the most prestigious and unique title on the iRacing platform, the Old Red Boot. We're kicking off week 2 of the Tour Mods in the great state of Virginia at the South Boston Speedway. But before we dive into SoBo, let's take a look back at Daytona. 100 laps proved easy for the field of top-notch drivers as they saved all the fireworks for the finish. Kenny Allen looked to be coming home in P2, but was absolutely shot out of a cannon in turns 3 and 4, which enabled him to steal the win from Jerry Isaacs in the final 100 yards to take home the checkered flag. I'm Zach Chapman, a.k.a. Shaggy, along with my partner in crime, J.R. Shepard, and we're lucky enough to meet of PGN, bringing us all of our sights and sounds, the one and only Ryan Seneker. The first of 2 trips this season to the southern tip of Virginia, and tonight we test the driver's ability to use patience as we head into the 4/10 mile bull ring. Many Hall of Famers have raced at this facility, but among the most notable are drivers such as Benny Parsons, Dale Earnhardt, and Davey Allison. At a track where we'll see lap times in the low to mid 14 seconds, drivers are going to have to focus on qualifying speeds to make sure they're not forced to start towards the back of a tough grid. Who will be able to manage tire wear? Will we have multiple pit stops tonight? Can Mr. Al go back-to-back and sweep the first 2 races of the season? I think I may have a man with an answer to some of these questions sitting right up here beside me. JR, what can we expect tonight at SoBo?
Well, tonight is going to be tough for these drivers. A lot different than Daytona the last time we were out in this series. South Boston, it's a 4/10 of a mile oval with long sweeping corners. That means that tonight these drivers will be turning left more than anything. That alone is going to be fatiguing to the drivers, but more importantly, it can be very mentally exhausting. And on top of that, this place is a bull ring, meaning contact will occur at some point here tonight. Also, these modifieds, they make a lot of grip around a place like this. And while the bottom is normally the preferred groove around here, if cars get side by side, you will see that top side of the track start to prevail. Shaggy, this place can be very narrow, especially on the straights. If we see a wreck tonight coming out of one of the corners, it might just collect and end a lot of these drivers' night. And that is something that you do not need to happen if you plan on racing for that Old Red Boot this season.
You're exactly right, JR. And, you mentioned a little bit, this track normally does have a lot of grip, but some knowledge you dropped on me. You took a little look at those track temps. Man, is it hot tonight. What can we expect out of the tires? Is that going to help grip or is that going to hurt grip?
Oh, it's going to be rough tonight. So, yeah, track temp right now, while they're qualifying, it's 94 degrees out there. So it is going to – these cars already are rough on that right rear tire. You really have to manage the throttle here, but with those higher track temperatures, that's only going to increase the temperature within that tire while you're racing and cause it to wear faster and lose grip quicker. So tires will be extremely important here tonight. We will have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, and leaving Daytona, I mentioned that they saved the fireworks for the finish. Only one caution there, JR, in 100 laps. And, I know we want to put the pressure on these guys, but one caution at a bull ring here is that may be a little too much to ask here. Do you expect a little more bumper-to-bumper racing here tonight?
I definitely expect a little bit more, and it's not because of the talent level of this group. The talent level is crazy good in this group, but this track is so tough, it is so narrow, and these cars are extremely difficult to drive, so I do expect to see some cautions here tonight.
Yeah, and interesting, you noted the temp actually did go up there a little bit from what we had saw, and so did the times. Now, right now you can see on the side, Jerry Isaacs, he's your quick time with a 14.170, but JR and I can see that that's a tenth of a second off what he had in practice. And, JR, you're the man behind the wheel. Do we attribute that to maybe not being able to heat the tires up as quick on a bull ring to get that fast lap right away? Or is it just really we're losing grip?
Yeah, it's a couple of things. We're losing grip as we're laying rubber down, but the biggest thing is that these tour modifieds, you typically don't turn your fastest lap until several laps in. It could be 5 or 10 laps into that run before you're running your optimal pace, and a lot of that has to do with your pressure and tire buildups after being on the track. But definitely the times are going to get slower as this race goes on, and that track will also start to marble up. That will come into play also with the lap times.
Well, we should be getting ready to roll into the race here, and we're going to take a look at our starting grid for the YesterYear SoBo 150. Starting on the pole, the 51 of Jerry Isaacs to the outside, the 87 of Todd Liston.
Yeah, row 2, we've got Daryl Weininger and Brian Bianchi.
Row 3 to the inside, Scott Negus to the outside, Tom Ogle.
In row 4, rolling off, we got Alan Wanamaker, and alongside him in that 54 car, Rex Hoyle.
Jeffrey Harden lines up on the inside of row 5 to the outside, Bill Martin.
Inside of row 6, we've got Brian Neff. Alongside him in the outside, starting 12th, is Dustin Martinson.
Row 7 to the inside, Tom Hilbert to the outside, Rory Collins.
Rolling off in 15th, Brian Johnson. Alongside him in that 15 car, Jeff Lemire.
The double deuce lines up on the inside of row 9, Bruce Pearson to the outside, Torrance Childs.
Row 10, a couple of guys I've raced a lot with, Chris Hazlip and Steve Hilbert.
Row 11 to the inside, Dave Batone to the outside, the boss man, Victor Lane.
Rolling off in 23rd place tonight, we got Randy Schuler. 24th, Lowell Jewell.
Ryan, you shush up back there. We have multiple bosses around here at the Virtual Grip Network. Row 13 to the inside, Lloyd Moore to the outside, Ken Allen.
Yeah, row 14, we got John Hastings. Alongside him in 28th place will be Mark Fish.
You see, they pace around quick here. Already around one time, we should be getting ready to go play next time around, JR. Any words of wisdoms to the driver? I mean, how do we get around here safe?
Watch that throttle pedal, especially early on. Let your tire temps build up, get some confidence in what that car is doing before you really start to push it, because it is going to be slick out there to start.
Anxious to see here as we roll around. Does Todd Liston, does he get aggressive here, or does he maybe play it easy on the outside? We're about to find out. 150 laps to play as the green flag is high. It's ready to fly. We're underway at SoBo.
Yeah, Todd got a great start. He almost was able to pull off that outside run on the leader there, Isaacs, but right now he's going to fall in behind. He's got that opening back to third spot.
Yeah, it looked like almost defending champion Brian Bianchi. He hooked up there too and almost got in the back of the 87 of Todd Liston. But JR, man, I think you hit the nail right on the head. If you can get that outside rolling, it is asking a lot, especially on cold tires, to nail that car down to the inside and still have grip.
It absolutely is, and on cold tires, what is very difficult for that inside car is that you do not have the front tire grip through the center of the corner. So you're putting a lot of wheel into it, you're trying to get the throttle down, and you kind of have a push-loose condition. Very difficult to overcome, and that guy on the outside does not feel that same thing.
And right now we can see it's really difficult to pass as we fall back through the field a couple spots. The most guys are up 2 spots. So you're looking at one of them there, the double deuce Bruce Pearson. Started 17th up to 15th, and you know, we talked early on, and last week one caution flag in 100 laps. Now these drivers, they've got to be ready for this long green flag run, and I think we're seeing JR drivers just settling in, bringing those tires in nice and easy.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a smart group of drivers that's in here. They know that they're running 150 laps here tonight. It is a long race. There's no need to be super aggressive here at the beginning. Like I said, you need those tire temps to come up, feel your car out, feel what the track is doing, and just get used to what that thing is going to be doing throughout this whole race right now.
You know, obviously, you know, drivers from all makes and models here. We're from a couple different leagues. We have YesterYear, we have help me out a little bit, JR. We've got BRL, we've got Red Light, guys that can run in here. And, you know, some of them, maybe they get a few tire stops. Now, the BRL guys, they may have a little bit of an advantage, JR. They're used to running 100 laps with only that one set of tires. Do you think that helps those guys a little bit when we come into a short track?
I think it definitely will this season because they're disciplined enough to take care of their tires and not use them from the very beginning. Drivers like Todd Liston, we saw him be smart. He tried to go after that lead on lap 1, but when he realized it wasn't going to work, he got back in line quickly, and he's there to ride and take care of his tires. So I think it definitely will come into play. The YesterYear series, they typically don't run on the extremely short Red Bull bull ring type racetracks that we're running on here tonight. So I do think the leagues that run in those type of situations will prevail.
And Brian Bianchi, you see he's kind of getting the leash pulled on him a little bit. Daryl Weininger, one of those guys who's used to pacing himself, but he's pushing it here a little early.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of the interesting thing because every driver's going to be a little bit different. Some drivers want to be in those odd number positions, so if a caution comes out, you know, you kind of restart on the inside. In this series, however, it's single file racing. So every position, or single file restarts, excuse me, so every position matters. You want to get every single position. You're not going to see the games played where somebody's trying to be odd or even on a restart. They want to be as far up as they can. So if they do get that restart, they're closer to the front.
Yeah, and you know, speaking of, you know, not getting double file restarts, well, you know the deal. 1966, JR, no lucky dogs, and our leader, Jerry Isaacs, is coming up on lap traffic very, very quickly, and we are only 17 laps into 150. How do you run here if you see the leader coming up? Because, you know, I mean, as sad as it is to say, you want to let that guy go, but at the same time, you can't really damn your night this early.
Yeah, exactly right. You know, from Jerry's perspective, very much like we saw at Daytona, he wants to lap these drivers because the more cars he laps, that's the fewer cars he's going to have to deal with, especially if he ends up having something go wrong in the race and he loses a lot of track position. He's going to have less cars to deal with. These cars that are trying to stay on the lead lap, they are going to try to fight him, but they're not going to be overly aggressive at this point because obviously if Jerry continues to pass people, they're going to have people that they can themselves race and be on the same lap with.
Yeah, and this is where you got to wonder, maybe some of these guys played the game here a little early and we're saving a little too long. As you hear a car bouncing around there, everybody able to keep it straight though. It looked like maybe the lap car getting out of the way there. I couldn't tell if that was Victor. Got in the outside wall as he's still a little slow up there on the outside of 3 and 4, but everybody getting by, no problem. And take a look there at that 20 or that 60 machine as he rolls under Victor Lane. I was watching that Yoo-Hoo machine earlier in practice. He had a lot of speed, but definitely one of those guys that later in the run, kind of like JR was talking about, is really be slipping and sliding. But Bill Martin right now looking pretty good. Started 10th, still running 10th. And then as I say that, looks like he's going to give one up here. Wasn't time to go racing just yet, JR.
Yeah, and that's a smart driver when you see somebody move over for the guy that's behind him because we're super early in this race, only on lap 24 of 150. There's no need to push it or put yourself in a bad position to where you potentially wreck your car trying to hold somebody off. If somebody's faster than you, move over, let them go by, start taking care of your equipment, and maybe you can even learn a little bit from that driver that just went by you.
Yeah, and speaking of being in a bad position, man, your leader, Jerry Isaacs, up the road. Double file in front of him. He is just trying to find a way on by, but it is absolute chaos. What do you do, JR? He's going to go to the top shelf.
Yeah.
Oh, caution! No! And your leader involved. That is going to hurt. That is definitely going to hurt the 51 there at Jerry Isaacs. Oh, we're going to have to go back and take a look at this one, but man, I think that may hurt his night there, JR.
Yeah, definitely. We'll watch the replay here. We'll have to see if he's got any suspension damage, but he definitely got some good contact. Looked like right there, we got the 15 and the 19 car just kind of making slight contact on corner entry. And really the leader, we've talked about it in the past, in these modifieds, you do not have good visibility with that big air cleaner out front, and just with how low the roof line is, you just cannot see that far ahead when you're turning, and just was not able to see that in time to get checked up and fully stopped.
Yeah, we've got all eyes glued on that 51 right now, and he's coming down pit road. So definitely not liking the way that thing feels. And man, Heartbreak for the 51 of Isaacs. But now, JR, you know, if there's any light at the end of this tunnel, maybe the damage isn't too bad. And, you know, you got 30-lap fresher tires. There's a chance this thing could go green from here on out.
Yeah, absolutely. They got unlimited sets of tires, so no reason for him not to go ahead and take those, repair some of that damage. Obviously, he probably feels like the wheel's off a little bit. That right front tire may be slightly towed out. Hard to tell, though, because it actually looked pretty decent while he came down pit road. We may have to get an interview with him at some point, but definitely a big break for him there. Heartache there for him because, yeah, I see him coming off the pit road. His car's not going to handle great, but that kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier where he was putting cars a lap down. This is the reason why you want to put those cars a lap down. If you get caught up in something, you have a better chance of having a decent finish.
You're exactly right. They're out here points racing, but he's going to come down pit road one more time and may lose a lap or two here, JR, as the green flag's high. It's ready to fly. The 87 of Todd Liston brings us back to the green flag, and lap 31, we're underway.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got Brian Bianchi right behind him. We know he's the defending champion. He knows how to get the job done, so he's going to try to go after Todd here, but it looks like Todd is being extremely smart, taking care of those tires, but he's also being able to pull them away while he's doing it. And like we talked about at Daytona, the one thing you normally see out of Todd is you do not see that car moving around a lot. You don't see the car wiggling or getting loose or pushing way up the track. He runs a defined line.
We get another caution flag. You know what they say, JR, cautions breed cautions. We're back for another one here. As you see Victor Lane on the outside. Looked like maybe there he just got the marbles a little bit, got a little loose coming off, and then got running the wall. Maybe the car below him there thought that he wasn't going to have that speed on exit and can clear up top, but just nowhere to go. And Victor involved in caution number 2.
Yeah, and I can tell you from experience here at South Boston, when you're trying to pass a slower car, the slower car's trying to stay out of your way. They're staying all the way up against that wall, but it is extremely hard to judge that width to that car that's on your outside when you're coming out of the corner here, and a lot of contact gets made for that very reason. It's a little hard to explain to those watching at home, but inside the car, it's just very difficult to judge, and just a little bit of a misjudgment there on the width of the car there.
So let's talk to Bianchi here. Let's see what he's got to say. We'll hammer him real quick. Hey, Brian, Shaggy up in the... Oh, it looks like he's muted. He may not be able to change out while he's driving, so we'll send him back down there. Tough break. JR, you get the next one. I'm 0 for 1.
Yeah, I'll see who we've got here.
Are the lights still on? Yeah, no, they're still on. Well, whatever. Have it queued up for next time. You get the next one.
We'll find us somebody for the next round.
Yeah, we'll have it all figured out. Plenty of guys here on the move. Right now, from what I'm looking at, hard charger. None other than somebody, JR, we're very familiar with. The boss man, Lowell Jewell. The second boss man, the original boss man.
Well, he's got a ton of experience, and he probably wouldn't like me saying that, but it's the truth. He has a ton of experience at places like this, South Boston, the short track, so he knows how to get around here, and more importantly, he kind of knows how to avoid issues that typically happen here, like we've seen in these opening cautions.
Well, we're going to see if the boys want to play nice here as the pace truck dives off, and Todd Liston gets ready to drop the hammer in that 87. And we're back underway, lap 38 here at South Boston Speedway.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, we talked about those single file restarts. Look how close that last car in line is to our leader right when they took the green flag there. This is a short track, and these cars, there's so many of them here, 28 of them started this race, that the leader can almost see the end of that pack.
Yeah, and you know, if you're one of those cars a lap down, you know where you're starting, JR, at the end of that pack. So the guys who were close to going a lap down on that first green flag run, I think we're going to see the wick turned up a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to use up everything, but I think, you know, they're going to count their blessings here and not push it here twice.
Yeah, definitely, but I think if you're a car that is still on the lead lap and you're back there, I do think you're going to race a little bit harder than what you were doing. I think that staying on the lead lap in a series like this is probably more important than making sure you got something to work with at the end of the race. So I think they're going to push pretty hard here early and just hope that they get a caution, you know, after 30, 40 laps in.
God, Negus, he's entering high there. You can see trying to find a way to diamond up off. And now, JR, you can start to do this now, but as you heat those tires up, is it going to be easier? Is it going to be a little more difficult to diamond that thing down in the center of the racetrack and try to cut a rug under somebody?
Yeah, my experience in the tour car is that it's going to be more difficult if you make those tires angry, because the biggest thing is that right front tire gets a lot of pressure built up in it, and that makes the car push, particularly in the center of the corner where you're trying to get that car to rotate and cut down under somebody. So the more that car starts to push, the more wheel you want to naturally put into the car, and the more it pushes until finally the rear end slips and comes around on you, and you get that push loose condition, which normally results in a wreck in cars like this. So it's very, very tricky. There is a balance to it. You want to be able to do that over under type move, but you can't push too hard and wear those tires out.
When you were seeing Weininger there for a little bit ago, he was pushing, trying to get around Bianchi, and now kind of had to back off a little bit, cool the tires off, maybe come for another charge. But here comes Bianchi, maybe coming for a little playtime of his own here. He's cut that lead down to 0.3 of a second. He's starting to tug on the leash just a little bit here, JR.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see guys are starting to move around. We see this group really battling it out right now, but drivers are starting to move around. They're not just staying to that bottom groove. Even when they don't have somebody that's contending a position with them, they're moving up the track, moving around the second group, third group, trying to figure out where their car feels the best and where they're making the most time right now.
And you'd say riding off the back of the double deuce, that's Lowell Jewell, your hard charger. We mentioned him earlier. He was up 8 spots, now 9. It's just going to be cool and calm here. I think, him and Bruce, you talked about that experience. They've run a lot of races together, and they're going to run each other clean. But look at this. The 27 tried to dice it up under the powdered milk here. Do we even call it Yoo-hoo milk? You know, that is the ever debate. Is it chocolate water or is it chocolate milk?
That's very true. All I know is it tastes pretty good to me. You know, some people might not like it, but I was pretty addicted to it as a kid.
See, I'm probably the only person you've ever met that's morbidly obese, that's that is allergic to chocolate. So I don't really know the wonders of the chocolate. I have to always pass it off to my wife. Man, these guys here are still going at it here, and gonna send it in low. Oh, I thought he was gonna maybe clip that apron, JR. He went in there really low, and right now not a big deal, but what happens if you get those left side tires on the paint? Can it get you into any trouble?
Well, it's weird at this racetrack. So in turns 1 and 2, I don't recommend at all getting down near that paint. But I do like using it through 3 and 4, and I even like dipping my left side tires all the way onto the apron in 3 and 4 in order to try to get an advantage on corner entry, but also to help rotate the car as it starts to tighten up through the run. So that's something I like doing. It may not be everybody's forte, but you can move around on this racetrack and try some different things. I just wouldn't try it in turns 1 and 2.
Now, going down there to use the apron, is that something you use early on, JR, to help you in your tire wear? Or something you lose after the damage has kind of already been done? When's the best time to take advantage of a line like that? Well, as the caution flag flies, oh, we got to stop in front of the leaders. There we go. He had it happen to him once, so I think he pulled down to the inside. He saw him coming. He's getting out of the way. Tough break there. You see, he was Jerry Isaacs. He's a couple laps down, just trying to race his way on through. He gets a shot in the back there. He definitely had some help. I couldn't tell what number that was, but Isaacs, man, he must have a bullseye painted on that 51 tonight.
Yeah, it's a rough night when stuff like that's going on. I believe we're going to see the 26 car just get into him a little bit. Isaac's kind of running a little bit of a different line than what the 26 was there, and it's just a coming together on short tracks that happens from time to time. Maybe a little bit of a checkup from the 51 due to what was happening in front of him. But yeah, I feel for him, because typically when you have a bad night going, things continue to happen to you, and it just snowballs and gets worse and worse. It seems like there's nothing you can do right.
What we got? I'll let you hammer him with the first question. Yeah, pull him up. Pull up Todd. Do it. Hey, Todd, Shaggy up in the booth, man. You got a copy?
10-4.
Well, hey, man, you're rolling around up front. How hard are we pushing this thing early? Do we want to go the whole way on this set of tires, or we thinking pit stop later? What's the plan here, Todd?
Boy, that's really up in the air, and that's a tough spot about being first, because you don't know if they're all going to duck out behind you. I'm going to try to save what I can, and right now it seems I got decent pace on these, so we'll keep it till we keep it, and we'll just keep monitoring. If we drop off too much, we'll probably try a pit.
You got anything, JR?
Hey, Todd. Good job being out front this early. You expect that groove to kind of move around the line that you're going to have to run in order to maintain some speed?
Yeah, I might move up a little bit by the end of it.
Oh, they're going back green. We were late. Send him back, Ryan. Good luck, Todd. The green flag waves. Oh, they're stacking up behind him. We got a big caution there. The 9-ball on the inside, and we got one up over on the lid. Oh, Tom Hilbert. Is he going to get a little help? Does he get shoved over? No, he just slides on the roof. Oh, man, the excitement continues.
It does. I think some guys were trying to help him on over. That was courteous of him. It just didn't work.
No, and you know, the 13x incident limit, you got to be careful how many times you help somebody get over. You got to make that trip down pit road. Oh, you can see there, I believe.
Yeah.
Negus maybe missed the shift?
We'll have to go back and get another look at it. I see Ogle there in the 13 car. Something happened around that area, and I'm not sure exactly which one first. But, the 99. Something happens with the 99, and Ogle actually gets in the back of him, and it just stacks up from there.
Yeah, hard to tell if, maybe missed the shift there, or you can see the rear, it kind of break up towards the wall, JR. Maybe he's lifting to catch it so he doesn't get in the fence, and man, oh man, it's just a pile up from there.
Yeah, a little bit weird. I see the 99, by the time they get to turn 1, he's way low, like he understands he's got some kind of issue, and then he immediately, pulled into the backstretch pits after that, so not sure if some type of technical issue may have happened with Darrell's car there. Be interesting to see if he comes back out.
It's going to be interesting to see here, too. Ryan's normally works a lot better than mine, but the first car I'm seeing to come down pit road, Mark Fish in 11th came down lap 35, and then right behind him, Scott Negus just pit. So we'll have to keep an eye out on those guys, see if they can climb their way up through the field. JR right now at 12th place with fresh sneakers. Sign me up, I think.
Yeah, and this is definitely a good move if you're in the middle side of the pack or toward the end. We're getting ready to go green, but this is a great move because we're close to halfway there.
The green flag waves, Liston drops the hammer, and that's another good restart. And Bianchi, wow, you saw the 93 there, almost slide up. That was Chris Hazlett. He's a lap down. That's where the cars, start there on the inside when they're back for the restart, but not able to really take advantage. Oh, and he almost chops that 13, and there must be some luck in that thing tonight. That was a close call for Tom Ogle.
Yeah, Tom did a nice job there. It's just really difficult, to get by lap cars, not because they're trying to be in your way. It's just a very difficult track to pass. But what that's done is that has broken up our top two, Todd Liston and Brian Bianchi. They've pulled away by over a second. And if Bianchi can get to Todd, that gives him opportunities to try some unique racing lines and see if something might just work better for him in order to make that pass.
Yeah, and I don't think you're a defending champion without testing those waters, so I'd be surprised if he gets to the bumper of this 87 if we don't see some moves. But look at Negus throwing in there. He's trying to drive it under. But that is not Negus, is it? Who is supposed to be the 55? Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's right. But he's not. But he's supposed to be the 29. I knew that. I knew it. Always confusing me. Steven Spees imitator in this league there, but looks under the double deuce, and those are those new tires. Bruce not going to fight him at all here, and this restart, maybe it helps first and second for sure, JR, but I think stringing them out like this helps the guys with new tires. You can attack them one by one now.
It absolutely does, and I think it was the right call if you're you know, like I said, in the middle of the pack or toward the back of the pack to come in and pit right now because we were so close to halfway. Great time to come in and take tires. But what we're seeing right now is those leaders be quick. They're pulling away. One thing to take into consideration with these modifieds, when we have a caution, the tire temps come down. When the tire temps come down, even if you've got tire wear, the temperature is more important than that wear. So when we go back green, you will see those guys that have had speed have that speed once again, and it'll even be like they have fresh tires on that car for a number of laps. But we start to get 20, 30 laps into that run, you will see those guys slow down, and those drivers that took tires, they will start to be the faster ones on track.
So, you know, you're the pro here, JR, not to toot the horn more, but how many restarts are these tires good for? Do you have a lot of life in them, or are there a certain amount, like let's say 4 or 5 cautions, where you've kind of ruined all that shine and it just won't come back anymore?
Yeah, you know, the tire model's not quite there to where the tires will never come back. What kind of happens is you're always going to be faster right after restart when those tire temps come down. Now, as you get into longer and longer runs and your tire wear actually decreases, your tires won't last for as long when we have a green flag restart. So, like I talked about, these guys might be able to go 20 laps and be fast. If you have a late race caution, it may only be 2 or 3 laps that you're fast before those tires start to slow down.
Well, here he comes, and you know, and not too far behind him, Tom Ogle as well. So, JR, you talked about it. He's got a little bit of time here, but he's got to be quick about it. If not, it's going to be a 3-car race for the lead here. So, Brian, maybe not the time either. When we look out that front windshield, we got 4 lap cars right up the road. So, do you maybe use one as a pick, or did we see what happened in that first caution when the leader tried to go to the outside and got collected in the mess? You know, it's a fine line. What do we do?
It is a fine line. I'm seeing right now, though, from Bianchi, he is attacking. I see him trying to get to the outside of Todd Liston going into turn 3 particularly. He's running a little bit higher through 1 and 2, but he's trying to sneak to the outside, because if you can get your left front just to the outside of his right rear, you can hold that driver down, and he's going to have to turn down the track and chew up some of his momentum, and that allows that outside car to prevail. That's what Bianchi knows. That's what he's trying to do. But he's going to have to work fast because Tom Ogle is coming. And between Ogle and Bianchi last year in this series, those were the 2 drivers that you had to race against if you wanted a chance to win one of the races.
Yeah, the Tide Machine. I thought we were going to get a little racy there, but he just pulls down to the inside to let him go around the top. And probably the best move that could have been done for Liston, because, man, if he would have caught him at that awkward time and been run up top and going into 1, we may have had a new leader coming out, but the Tide Machine does him a big favor and gets out of the way. But now, caution flag flies, and we got a wreck. I think Bianchi, he tagged that a little bit, JR, but the left front looks okay. We'll have to take a look and see what happened here. You see the double deuce and Chris Hazlett battling.
Yeah, I think the same thing as one of our earlier cautions. It's just that misjudgment when you come up off the corner here at South Boston. Super easy to not be able to tell exactly where that outside car is, and in a lot of cases, we've seen it twice tonight, contact ends up being made from that inside car pushing up into the outside.
Yeah, and you can see, you're exactly right. It's almost like he maybe even snapped loose a little bit just trying to gather it up. In the 22, he didn't have anywhere to go, and Hazlett ends up turning it around.
Yeah, and Bianchi definitely made some contact there. You know, we'll have to see what it looks like from this vantage point. But basically, I think he was trying to follow Todd, and Todd moved right at the last second, and Brian just couldn't react that quickly. You could see how little he could see, and he reacted late. And, you know, physically from that view, I don't think he actually touched him, but there may have been some net code there because I saw that left front tire move.
Yeah, and the way it jumped over directly to the right, I don't like that, JR. Hopefully it's okay here and it doesn't slow him down, but sometimes those net code hits are a little worse than just tapping somebody square on. They can get a little funky, but we'll have to see here as we get ready to go back.
Yeah, absolutely. But I can tell you, if you're going to mess up a side of the race car, you would rather it be that left front, because those left front tires are not going to wear anywhere near what the right side tires do, meaning they're working less than those right side tires, so it's a little bit less important. You can still make some magic happen as long as you got that right front.
Now, Lowell stayed out, but Brian Johnson and Bruce Pearson, they came in and got fresh tires here for this final 60-lap sprint. Right now, that man, Scott Negus, remember he restarted 11th. He's gotten up to 7th. Let's keep our eye on him as the pace truck dives off. The green flag's high. It's ready to fly. Lap 92 at South Boston Speedway is underway.
Yeah, and you can see Todd, he didn't get a great restart, but he gets a great launch up off of turn 2 and able to pull away from Bianchi. We've got some jostling back there for about 4th place, but right now, Todd has done what he needs to do on this restart. He's already opened up about a 2-car length lead. Yeah,
and you know, speaking of 4th place, sneaky fast, we have not talked about Jeffrey Harden all night, and look at him there in the top 5. And Tom Ogle, he had a sketchy first lap. It looked like Jeff was maybe going to make a move, but Tom's kind of settled back in here now, and he's got his sights set back on that 14. Remember, he was reeling the lead 2 in before the caution flag flew, and I imagine this caution, you said, JR, cools off the tires, probably only helped the 13.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to have a lot of grip here to work with for at least a little while. Like I said, it probably lasts about 20 laps before the guys with fresher tires will be able to have the advantage. But yeah, you're seeing the top 3 cars. They've kind of been the class of the field, you know, since the beginning of this race. They've pulled away to a slight lead, and that's what you're starting to see is some gaps opening up. And I guarantee you, if you see a gap ahead of a car and you see a line of cars behind that car that's leading that pack is kind of holding everybody up. And you can see right there, Scott Negus, he's trying to dive under Brian Neff going into turn 3, and look how loose he got right there.
Yeah, and you know, he wants to use up as much as he's willing to get. He knows he's got that fresh tires, and well, you know, we're coming up here 52 to go this time by, so we are running out of time here, JR. He's got to make a move while he can.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get it done sooner than later when you've got the fresh rubber, when you're able to plant those tires, particularly that rear tire as you're coming up off the corner. And Negus did an extremely good job of rolling right around the bottom through 3 and 4 to make that pass happen.
Yeah, and that's where if you're Brian Neff there, you know, you almost feel helpless. You're just stuck in quicksand. You watch that guy with new tires drive on by, and look at the 54 get under hard in there, Rex Hoyle. That was a big move, and Rex, he's still on those original tires, so that's him just saving his stuff here for the late 3rd.
Yeah, Rex is known in the Red Light Racing League as being a driver that's constantly in the top 10, so no surprise to me at all. And I think actually these Tour Modifieds fit his driving style a little bit better because he is definitely a contender here and looking to go catch those top 3.
You know, Liston was shocked when he talked to us after finishing on the podium at Daytona, but he has really proven his worth now, JR. You know, maybe wasn't used to being amongst those names, seeing his name up there in the lights, but he really belongs. He set the pace here since the middle stage, and right now, you know, we've seen guys, experts, kind of driving defensive, and at the way he's entering in the middle of the corner, it's going to be tough for Brian to find a way on by.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, you know, we talked to Todd, you know, right before that green came back out. He talked about trying to move around at some point and find different grooves that work for him. The one thing I'm really seeing change from him at the moment is his entry into turn 1. He is entering a little bit more in an arc fashion instead of just diving into turn 1, kind of giving up that entry. So if that guy behind you wants to dive in underneath you, you could care less because you're arcing the car in, for 1, but 2, even if he gets underneath you, you can run that high line. The high line can work. Now, I want to be cautious because I've seen on the broadcast feed here a couple of times marbles bouncing up into our cameras, and that tells me the track is really marbling up on that higher side. We talked about how well that high side can work, but this late in the race, you can get too high in those marbles, and if you do, the car is not going to turn at all.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience, I got in the marbles a lot doing some road racing this weekend, JR, and man, it is fun trying to bring those things back down and settle it underneath you again. It can be a wild ride for those couple laps. And speaking of a wild ride here, you talked about him, Rex Hoyle. He's known in the red light world. Well, He's about to be known here in the YesterYear world. He's going to have a run here. He's coming up on Tom Ogle in that 13.
Yeah, and this is super impressive because, you know, we talked about it. Bianchi, Ogle, those are the drivers you wanted to beat last season to have a shot to win the championship. So Hoyle is showing in this first normal race that I'm calling to the season, first normal type track, not a drafting track, he's showing that he has a lot of strength. So he's going to be one to contend for that title this year.
Johnson there taking a peek under Collins. Just can't find the run. He's going to send it in deep there. Oh, you saw the 62 have to catch it and drive it up the hill there, JR. He wrecked without wrecking there. We know how hard that is to save in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Collins being very, very, you know, cautious on what he was doing right there because he could see what was happening on the inside. Oh, actually got Ogle going around on the front stretch here.
Yeah, Ogle gets loose, and, you know, the lap before that I had to go back and take a peek here. Liston got really loose on the exit of 4, got in the outside wall. That's how he lost the lead. Now you see Ogle trying to dive down and take a peek underneath. Now you got to be a little contact there. You saw Liston. He's trying to avoid that lap car, JR. They're just fighting for the same ground, I think.
Yeah, you know, I talked about when you're too wide coming off the corner, not being able to judge it. We see how Todd lost the lead there, getting a little bit loose. He was really trying to dig and hold on to that lead. It was kind of going to be Bianchi's anyway right there, but the caution that we saw happen was that 3 wide situation, and I really don't think Ogle understood that they were still 3 wide at that particular point. And that's why the contact was made. But he's been one of the fastest drivers. I think he actually lost a lap. I didn't think he did originally, but I think we're showing on the ticker that he is 1 lap down. So that's going to be a little bit of a hard break for him. I thought he was going to be able to come in and get some tires and race back through the pack.
Yeah, we know it's never fun, but when the field kind of spreads out like that, JR, I think he was trapped down on the inside and, you know, didn't want to back up in front of anybody on that tight front stretch, and kind of doomed himself by being the nice guy. But we all know the racing gods, man. They see that stuff. That'll equal itself out. What goes around comes around, but that's just a tough break for Tom.
Yeah, now what I am seeing here on the screen is the drivers that are pitting are those drivers that are in the back of the pack right now. Low Joel being one of them, the 2 car there. He's still on the lead lap, and he's in 10th place. So even though he pitted, he's the last car on the lead lap. He's in 10th place with fresh rubber. And I know the laps are counting down, but we're still going to have about 30 laps to go here. He can pick off some cars from that position.
Yeah, speaking of picking off guys, I mean, you see Negus there sitting in 5th. He pitted on lap 63, remember. So he's got 60-lap pressure tires. Is that enough to pick off this many guys, JR?
I'm not sure if he can get the lead, just because I believe some of those guys up front have had more pace than Negus at this point. But it is enough to get a few positions. We'll see how it works out as we go green here.
Well, Brian drops the hammer. We're back underway. Lap 119 as we've got 32 laps to play. You see the 54 of Hoyle. Kind of had to back it up there in the center of the corner. Almost got in the back of Liston as he drives it back in deep. He's running that diamond line, but look, he opened the bottom. And I thought Harden was going to take a peek.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Hoyle's doing a great line when you're back out on the track by yourself, but if that guy behind you gets close like we saw Harden do right there, it can be very, very sketchy because that driver can get to the inside of you right as you're turning to come back down the track. Hoyle kind of saw that. He's adjusted his line because of that, but at the same time, he's kind of lost some ground to our top 2.
Well, Scott Negus goes down for a drive-through penalty, and what that tells me is that was a 13X penalty. How many other guys do we think are that close? Because Negus running around there in 5th place to do a drive-through and drop back to 10th. Oh, man, it's not like you wanted to do that, but look at the boss, man, taking advantage of the new sneakers. Oh, he looks like Superman out there, JR.
He is. He's going to be able to move around and run whatever line he wants to. But you brought up a great point. Oh, man, almost getting in the back there of the 26, I believe, but Lowell continued to move forward. But you brought up a great point about the 13X. That is when you get a penalty and have to do a drive-through. But the next penalty is 17X. When you get just 4 more X, you're going to be disqualified. And that can be just one good contact with another car. So those drivers that have those penalties, they're going to have to be careful for the rest of this race.
And Lowell continues to drive that thing, but now he got a little bit of a gap up to the next car, Rory Collins, for position. There will be 2 lap cars in between. Lowell's going to need a help with maybe a caution. I think Liston, I don't know if he wants that caution here, JR. It looks like he's giving it all he can to keep that 87 underneath him right now. He is fighting a wild horse.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And, you know, we talk about Todd being a very, you know, direct driver, really sticking to the line. You don't see his car moving around a whole lot. But in the situation here tonight, he had that lead. He had to defend that lead several times. And in return, he's kind of chewed up his tires. So right now, he's doing everything he can to hang on and not let Rex Hoyle get by. I think Rex is going to eventually find a way, just because he's not had to fight as hard as what Todd has at this point. But Todd is doing a great job right now to hold him off.
Yeah, and you can see the 54. He kind of backing it up here a little bit. I think he's getting ready to try to make a run at him. He knows coming down, we got 21 laps to go here. If he wants to make a run at this lead, he's going to need 10, maybe 15 laps to make a run at this thing. So he can't wait too long. There's 20 laps to go this time by, JR.
Yeah, this is when the pay window's starting to open up, and this is when drivers start to get antsy, especially if you've been trying to pass somebody for a number of laps and it's just not working. You start to get antsy. You start to say, hey, I'm going to move this driver ahead of me. May not mean wrecking that driver, but we have bumpers on these cars, so we can use that chrome horn. We can give that guy a little bit of a boost on corner entry, just move him up the track enough that you can get underneath him.
Yeah, and I like how you stress corner entry there, because I think if you gave that 87 a bump on corner exit, we might see a big pile up, as he is hanging on. He is ice skating going down the backstretch. JR, he couldn't even enter in low there. He had to gather it, drive it in up top, and he's fighting back for now, but this may be a losing battle for that 87.
Yeah, it may definitely be. He's going to fight hard because he is one of those drivers that is up there in the points. Obviously, having a great run at Daytona, he wants to continue to have great runs, finishing the top 3 or 4. But Rex Hoyle is really pressuring him, putting a lot of pressure, especially on the center of the corner. He's trying to move Todd up the track, which is something you need to do at a place like this. And Todd's trying to hang tough. Rex is going to get by here. But the big thing is Todd has done a great job of not getting into that outside wall. Oh, there they go. My bad.
Yeah.
That's a commentator's curse.
Yeah, you couldn't have said that any better. I think, and you know, we're gonna have to look at the up top view, but it, you know, Todd, I mean, he had the muscles out. He was rolling. I think he's up about as high as he could go. I don't know. You know, that's just tough racing. That's as big of a racing incident as you could have, I think. You can't really blame either of the drivers there. They're just fighting. You said it yourself. Pay window is open.
Yeah, they're fighting hard, and yeah, absolutely. I don't think Todd could have went much more to the right. I think Rex it's one of those things it's hard to judge, especially when you're slightly ahead of that driver that's on the outside of you. Hard to judge what that width is that you need to leave that outside car, and contact here is made a lot. There's also a lot of net code, especially when it comes to the modifieds at a short track like this. Some of that may have been involved in that initial contact, but yeah, it's one of those things. We're at the end of the race, less than 25 laps to go. These drivers are pushing hard to try to get the best finishing position they can.
Yeah, and you know, I talked about somebody maybe needing a caution. Looky who's in 6th place there, JR. Let's get that man on the camera. The boss man, Lowell Jewell. Are we thinking there is a possible podium for this man? I mean, he's got some of the freshest sneakers out there.
He does. Brian Johnson ahead of him. He's pitted also, but he pitted earlier than Lowell did. So definitely Lowell's got the freshest tires that are anywhere, you know, in the top 8. So I definitely think that Lowell expects to move forward here. Brian might be a little bit difficult to get by. Johnson is, as far as that goes, but Brian Neff, I think they're not going to have much of a problem at all getting by him. We've not talked a whole lot about Neff tonight. He's up there. He has not pitted, and I think he's going to be a little bit vulnerable in this restart to Brian Johnson and Lowell Jewell.
Yeah, speaking of being vulnerable, let's see how this 87 looks on this restart as we're ready to drop the hammer. Brian Bianchi leads us to the green flag. We got a 10-lap shootout here at SoBo. And that was a big run up in the wall for that 87, but so far keeping pace with the front two. It looks like he's got a little bit. But the boss man, Lowell Jewell, he's taking a peek here for fifth.
It's going to be a hard pass, very much like what we saw with the lead just a little while ago. The 27's going to hang tough, and he's going to fight hard. So the big thing that Lowell has to do is not push up on corner exit. They do make some contact there, but they keep it moving at the moment.
Yeah, Lowell just had to tell him he was there as they make a little more love going down the backstretch. These guys putting on a show here with 7 laps to go. This time by Lowell, he's got to cede the spot for now. Maybe go back at it for another shot, but right now it is all Bianchi out front. Harden hasn't really been able to make the run here since getting around Liston at that caution. If anything, Liston's kind of been trying to dig at him a little bit, but just can't find any grip in that 87.
No, I think the grip's completely gone. The rear tires are what he's struggling with, just trying to get that forward drive up out of the corners. He just doesn't have it right now, but he's doing a good job to keep that car underneath him because Brian Neff, he's not pitted either. He's not had to fight as hard, I don't think, but he's just not able to keep up with him.
Yeah, and I think Brian, he's just going to sit back and eat the popcorn here, and hopefully somebody slips up in front of him, because you said it. I mean, to be out there this long and having to move up through the field, start at 11th, and that's 7 guys, not easy to do running 147 laps, but we've got 3 to go here as the 14 leads the way.
Yeah, and at this point, the tires, those drivers that have not been weighing, we see some bumping back there. Lowell Jewell getting turned sideways coming off of turn number 4, but he gets it back going. Scott Negus has joined this party, and he is trying to move forward. He looks like he's on a mission.
Yeah, and with the white flag ready to wave, we've got a battle for third as well. Neff taking a peek, but he loses the rear end. But JR, it's the final time around as the 14 of Bianchi sails it into 3 and 4 for the final time. And our defending series champion takes the checkered flag, followed by Jeffrey Arden, Todd Liston, Brian Neff, and Brian Johnson rounding out the top 5. Man, it was a night for the Bryans. 3 Bryans in the top 5, JR. That may be the name of my first son now.
Absolutely. We'll have to keep an eye on that moving forward and see if that trend continues, because that is pretty cool.
My wife looked at me and rolled her eyes. That was her father's name. So I think that one may be off limits. But, man, I'll tell you, this was a great race here. And as the 14 does some donuts, we're going to give him a chance to pop that water bottle open to get a cold drink, catch his breath. And we'll be right back here on the Virtual Grip Network, and we'll give you a rundown along with your interviews for your top 3. Stick around. We are back live on the virtual Grip Network, and man, JR, we were treated to 150 hard-fought laps here. As, believe it or not, I kind of thought tire strategy may play into it, but as we read down these final results, kind of unbelievable. The top four started on that same set of tires they finished with. Pretty crazy. Let's take a look here at the final rundown. Brian Bianchi, your defending series champion, brings home the win. Jeffrey Harden, P2, and Todd Liston with the second podium of the season. A good run there for the 87. Brian Neff, fourth, and Brian Johnson rounding out the top five. The boss man, Lowell Jewell, sixth, Scott Negus, seventh, Bruce Pearson, eighth, Tom Ogle, ninth after that inside scare, but did finish the first car a lap down, so good points day for Tom all in all, and Daryl Weininger rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, coming home in 11th place tonight, we got Dustin Martinson. 12th place goes to Lloyd Moore. 13th place, John Hastings. 14th place tonight, 5 laps down, will be Bill Martin. 15th place is the 42 of Mark Fish. Coming home in 16th place will be Victor Lane. 17th place, Alan Wanamaker. 18th tonight will be Rory Collins. Coming home in 19th, we got Randy Schuler. And in 20th place, Dave Baton.
Well, you saw there after that final caution, Rex Hoyle, he was battling there for P2, but after the mishap, tore the race car up, couldn't get it back out there. He's going to bring it home 21st. Torrance Childs, 22nd. Tom Hilbert, 23rd. The Lipper, Chris Hazlett, 24th. Jeff Leemeyer, 25th. Steve Hilbert, 26th. Jerry Isaacs, 27th. And Ken Allen rounds out the field. Now's the time that we've all waited for. We've got the driver of the 87 up here, Todd Liston. Shaggy up in the booth, man. You got a copy?
10-4, Shaggy.
Hey, man, I know possibly not where we wanted to finish after you led most of this way, but Todd, turn that frown upside down. We're points racing, brother, and back-to-back podiums. Got to have the 87 feeling good, man. How was your race car tonight?
My race car was good. I knew from the get-go I was going to be wearing my right rear more than I really wanted to. And once Brian got behind me and he was putting the pressure on, I got a little flustered on that, so I ended up just wearing it down a little bit more than I should have. I want to give a shout out to both Tom Ogle and Rex Hoyle. They were both racing me clean. I think Tom, there was like a mishap with lap cars splitting, and I wasn't entirely certain where the best place to put the car was. I don't know what happened to him. But I tried to give him as much room as I could getting through there. But, it's 4. I think we ended up 4 wide at some point. And Rex, I think we got a little net code or something there. We were both going straight, and then next thing I know, he was right off my hood. So I'm not sure what happened there.
No, I mean, as big a racing incidents as they come on both of them, you nailed the first one. You're just trying to come down off that wall because the lap car's up there. I don't think Tom knew you were 3 wide or would have gave you a little more room. In that last one, Todd, if you turn up to the right any further, you're going to be selling popcorn going down the backstretch. You couldn't have gave any more room. You had a great run tonight, man, so don't sweat any of that stuff. Nothing was the fault of the 87 here in our eyes, and you had a great run, man. Before we kick you out of here, you got anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, I want to thank my wife, Caitlin, son James, tuning in every night. And I want to thank Alan for putting on the league, everybody for racing the league. It's always fun coming back to YesterYear, and I want to thank you guys up in the booth for putting up a great show every week.
Well, hey, man, you're Mr. Consistency. That's how I know you. Another podium, and I'm looking forward to what you can do the rest of the season here, Todd. Good luck, man.
Thanks, Jay.
And now, my man JR, I think you got the man in the 36. Who you got?
Indeed, I got Jeffrey Harden up here, second place finisher tonight. Hey, Jeffrey, we didn't see you a whole lot at the beginning of the race. Started back in 9th place, but you were definitely there at the end. That all part of your plan, coming to a place that's tough like this?
Well, I was just trying to hang out early, JR, and avoid the wreck. I got lucky there at one point, and I happened to squeeze through a wreck, and I think I gained like 4 or 5 spots and put me up in the top 5. But after that, I think I had more than some of the guys up there, so that kind of helped.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we kind of talked about you guys run a lot of short tracks, and you kind of know the MO on not wearing your tires out. So definitely look like you did a great job with that. I'm going to ask you, you know, you finished 6th at Daytona. Now you got a 2nd place finish. Definitely looking great in the point standings. What are you thinking moving forward throughout the rest of this season?
I'm just trying to keep it parked in the top 5. I mean, I think if I can do that, I might have a shot towards the end of the year.
Sounds like a plan. I got to ask you before I let you go, man. We go to, I believe, we are going to Richmond next time out. What do you think about that place in these cars?
Oh, I love Richmond. I love the open space, the multiple lines. I mean, I don't really race it that much, but I think you remember I had a special event years ago with the team I was with at Richmond and the SKs. It was a lot of fun. So, I mean, I really love that track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a driver's track. Kind of do a lot of unique things there, especially when it's in a car like this. But, hey, Jeffrey, congratulations, man, on that 2nd place run tonight. Hopefully next time out we'll get to talk to you some more.
Yeah, thank you, JR. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to my beautiful wife and my brothers for watching the race. And thank you, Alan, for putting us on.
Awesome, man. Hey, look forward to talking to you more this season.
Yep, thanks, JR. Have a good one.
All right, guys, that's Jeffrey Harden. He's our 2nd place finisher with that. Who you got up in the booth?
I've got defending series champion Brian Bianchi. Brian, after a rough Daytona, man, coming home almost at the tail end of the field, how important was it that you come out here and set the tone for the rest of the season and bring home the checkered flag?
Yeah, definitely wanted to get a good finish after that Daytona race, running out of fuel and basically killing my night. I mean, I found that race pretty difficult to figure out, and then I ran out of fuel. But tonight, I just tried to be consistent, stay on the bottom, and it all worked out.
Yeah, it did all work out, you know. I mean, coulda, woulda, shoulda, right, Brian? But do you think if Todd doesn't make that mistake and open up the bottom coming out of 4, did you have enough tread to work your way around him? Because we were really seeing, I mean, the top 4 I mentioned, you guys all finished on the same set of tires you finished with, but we saw passing coming up through the field of guys who were stopping at the midpoint of the race, but it kind of seemed like you guys just kind of had to deal with where you were for the time being. How was the car out there?
Car was great. I saved basically the whole race, just try to run that bottom line, get off early, get back on it late. I just put enough pressure on Todd there where he was getting looser and looser, and I knew eventually I would get by him. So yeah, I had enough. I had a little bit at the end. I thought that I was going to get a little pressure, but I was able to pull away.
Yeah, you know, what are you thinking there? You get a caution with about 13, 14 laps to go for a little 10-lap shootout. I mean, were you nervous? Did you want that thing to stay green? Because, I mean, I kind of saw what you saw there. You definitely had a little left, and, I mean, you were kind of walking the dog before that caution came out.
Yeah, I feel bad for my teammate Rex Hoyle there. He got caught up in something. I wish we could have finished 1-2. But yeah, I think I had some for anybody that was coming up. Even if they got tires halfway, I think I still would have had some. I mean, at the end, we qualified in the 1s. I think I was still running 4s. So I still think I had a little something for them.
You know, that being said, only 0.3 of a second fall off. I know it's a long ways away, but when we come back here again, Brian, 300 laps. I mean, how do we spread that thing out? Is it a 1-tire stop with the way you can, you know, save those tires, or do we maybe cut it up into thirds? How do we play that when we come back?
Yeah, I mean, I play every race, you know, see how the race goes. But I would think it's going to be a one-stop show with the way these rules are. You know, with the single file restarts, you might get stuck too far behind pitting too many times. So going in probably a one-stop race, but, you know, we got to see how it plays out.
Well, hey, Brian, you're the defending champion for a reason, man. You really flexed those muscles tonight and found a way to bring home the checkered flag. Looking forward to what you can do the rest of the season. But before we kick you out of here, man, got a lot of sponsors on that thing. Who you want to thank?
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'd like to thank Culpeper's Bakery and Cafe, Colony Tire, Blissful Buddies. Geez, it's been a while since I did this. Christina's Custom Cuts, Zeno's Luxury Jackets, Bianchi Cash Register, Bar Mackey, You know, without these guys, Rex Hoyle, does all my paint. He's my teammate, and man, without these people, I wouldn't be able to do any of this.
Well, hey, congratulations. Great run, Brian, and we'll see you in Richmond, brother.
Thanks, guys.
Brian Bianchi, defending champion, brings home the checkered flag. What more could we ask for? 150 laps of nonstop action, JR. I mean, if you didn't have fun tonight watching this, I don't know. I don't know what you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic racing here tonight, and it really sets the stage for, like you said, when we come back here later in the year and run the 300 laps. It gives us a preview of what that's going to be like. A lot of hard racing, a lot of holding on to that race car because tire wear is important, also as track position. So definitely looking forward to when we come back around.
Well, you know, we talked about it a little bit. We hinted at Richmond. Let's take a look at what's coming up next for the Virtual Grip Network. Our next race here for the YesterYear Tour Modified Series is going to be at Richmond. And, you know, you touched on the track. You called it a driver's track, JR. I call it a place for the people. I don't know if you have ever been to Richmond, but if you have not been there for a NASCAR event, oh, you got to go, man. You camp in the local neighborhoods. It's right off the side of the racetrack. No better environment for racing than in Richmond, Virginia.
Now, it's on my bucket list. I've definitely never been there, but it's within distance, so definitely something I need to do.
Well, coming up next on the schedule this Thursday at Hickory Motor Speedway, you'll see some of the cats you saw racing here tonight for the Red Light Racing SK Modified Series. Hickory Motor Speedway, you're the man I plug into for these short asphalt races. What can you tell me about Hickory?
Now, Hickory is extremely fun from my viewpoint, but extremely bumpy. It's pretty line sensitive through turns 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 can kind of widen out, and it becomes really fun because you can run a lot of different grooves there. But like I said, very bumpy. You got to be willing to go over those bumps with the car a little bit out of control, but not to the point that you're going to be slipping and sliding into the person that you're racing with. So it's a fun track, but it can be stressful from the driver perspective when you're racing hard with somebody.
Well, make sure you tune in live for that. That's going to happen this Thursday, March 27th at 7:55. You'll hear JR, that's you and Soup on that, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I was pretty sure. So, yeah, you'll hear my man JR along with the greatest Soup for that one. So make sure you don't miss that. But on behalf of everyone here at the Virtual Grip Network, I'd like to thank my partner, JR Shepard, our dude in the back, Ryan Seneker, and last but not least, all of you for tuning in and staying around this long. Have a good night.